with resignation. After successfully eluding this particular group of men for months, and others like them for years, she'd finally been run to ground. She couldn't go forward, nor could she go back. As the net closed in on her, she gave Cloud an affectionate, bittersweet pat. "Guess it's over, boy. We had a great run, though, didn't we?" Faced with defeat, she dismounted and removed her gun belt. After tossing it aside, she leaned back against Cloud, folded her arms, and waited for her captors. Later, when the sun set, she was behind bars, just as she'd predicted. Chapter 1. Summer, 1895. Outside Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Scrubbing sheets on an iron washboard, Teresa thought about her capture. Although it had taken place 3 years ago, the memory felt like both yesterday and a lifetime. She wondered how Cloud was faring up in Kansas with her brother Neil and her sister-in-law Olivia. Did the stallion miss her as much as she missed him? Because musing on the past brought on a sadness she refused to acknowledge, she turned her attention back to the sheets she was supposed to be washing and stuck her red, raw hands down into the hot, lye-laced water. The sheets piled on the ground beside her were waiting their turn on the washboard, and it would be dark before they were all done. But being a black Seminole, she didn't mind the work. The necessity of living a hard life was in her blood. What she did mind was that she was in prison in Pennsylvania. Because she'd chosen to stay on the wrong side of the law instead of turning herself in, as her brother had, hanging Judge Parker wanted to teach her a lesson. He'd sentenced her not to a prison in her beloved West, but here, up north, where she'd had to suffer through cold, mean winters, was too far away for family to visit her, and where she knew no one. Teresa wiped the sweat from her brow and looked out at the other women in the yard. There were about 50 of them, and they too were hanging laundry and standing over wooden barrels. They'd been sent here for everything from stabbing their husbands to picking pockets. All were dressed in the same faded and worn blue sacks that passed for gowns, and prisoners wearing shoes outnumbered those without. Teresa transferred the wet, clean sheets to the female prisoner operating one of the many wringers, then returned to her own vat to start on the next sheet. Today's batch of linens had come from one of the area's hospitals. Tomorrow's would be from the fancy Philadelphia hotels. Washing and hanging sheet after sheet, day after day, was mindless, back-breaking work, but at least they were outside. In the winter, the prisoners were forced to stay indoors, which bred fights, petty thievery, and sometimes madness. By late afternoon she was tired, as they all were, and there was nothing to look forward to when the day ended but a plate of beans and salt pork that would be, and had always been, dinner. As a result, most of the women were thin and listless. Teresa doubted she'd ever again fit the leathers she'd worn here. Her once vibrant midnight skin was gray, her chopped-off hair matted and as full of lice as everyone else's. "July?" Teresa turned. It was Mrs. Cassidy, a burly, brown-skinned matron whose sour expression had never changed in the 3 years Teresa had been in residence. "Warden wants to see you." Being summoned could be related to anything from a death in the family to punishments for infractions, real and imagined. Teresa wordlessly dried her hands and followed the matron across the field to the buildings a few feet away. The warden was a white man named Burns. He rarely ventured out of his office. Teresa had only seen him twice before. He looked up at her, but his face gave nothing away as to what this grand summoning might be about. "Your